Be careful of political parties that warn of a threat to democracy while they themselves arrest their political opponents, work with tech companies to censor those that disagree with them, allow men in women's sports and bathrooms, encourage child mutilation surgeries, fire federal workers and nurses for not getting experimental gene therapies, threaten to expand the Supreme Court and eliminate the Electoral College, cause rampant inflation, increase the cost of groceries by 26%, allow 11 million people to illegally cross the border, and push the entire world close to World War III.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox. And a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to. But the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling. You take him for a friend.
Spread the word! Have you heard? All across the nation, we are going to be a great generation. Less than a year before he was assassinated, my grandfather predicted this very moment. He said that we were moving into a new phase of the struggle. The first phase was the civil rights, and the new phase is genuine equality. We are going to be the generation that dismantles systemic racism once and for all, now and forever.
That poor girl had her soul crushed on national television. And this isn't some cheap fake or AI generated video. That was Dementia Joe, the real Dementia Joe, completely ignoring and brushing off that young black girl. It's like she was invisible to him. That guy right there, that's the Dementia Joe that the world needs to see. I've seen everyone posting videos about the interview on ABC last night. I don't care about that. That was a choreographed show for the masses. It was sanitized, it was orchestrated, and he still flubbed it. But this video that I'm showing you is the most significant piece of news that came out of yesterday's appearances by Dementia Joe. And very few people were even mentioning it, and you won't see it anywhere on the mainstream media. They don't dare, because this is the real Dementia Joe.
Now, that was just a little sample from Barry Cunningham and his must-watch, the newest, bestest, unbelievable Trump ad ever, seriously ever. Now, breaking: radio host fired after saying she received and used questions provided from Joe Biden's team ahead of the interviews. WURD radio statement, or WRD radio statement. The interview featured predetermined questions provided by the White House, which violates our practice of remaining an independent media outlet accountable to our listeners. The headline reads, Biden radio interview scandal escalates as host is fired for allowing White House to send scripted questions, even though the president still made a major gaffe. And of course, this one here, breaking: the Philadelphia radio show host who admitted she was given the questions to ask President Biden for an interview has been cut by WURD radio. Holy shit. During an interview with CNN yesterday, host Andrea Lawful Sanders admitted that she was given questions to ask. Now, the video of President Joe Biden, the president of the people, the president over, every nationality, race, ethnicity, whatever you want to call it, in that video from Barry Cunningham, completely bypassing the black female. I don't know if you noticed, there was another black female that he never quite made it to either, but every white female somehow got attention and a hug and a handshake and words spoken. And that first black female that he ignored, she was so excited. You could see clearly she was excited to have him in front of her. Her face lit up. She said hi. You could read the words that were coming out of her mouth. She said hi to this man, and he kept moving like she did not exist. And literally watching her is the definition of crestfallen. You watched her going from this high of being so excited to have this man in power, the president of the United States, within her speaking and hugging area, if you will, and to be completely ignored like she did not even exist. That should never happen to anybody. I don't believe anybody should be 100% ignored, no matter who they are, no matter who you are. A little human decency goes a long way. And all this man had to do was acknowledge her. I'm not even saying he had to hug her, he didn't have to shake her hand, but some sort of acknowledgement would have made her day, as opposed to now we have a new Trump voter. So at least there's that. I can guarantee that at the end of the day, what he did is going to affect how she feels about him as a president and about the party that she was supporting up until that point, because that shows you exactly who your president is for and clearly who he's not for. And that is no cheap fake. Now, outside of that, the fact that the White House sent the questions ahead to, I believe her name was Andrea at WURD or WURD. I don't know if you're supposed to say it or spell it, so we'll just go both ways. WURD radio. The fact that they sent questions ahead of time from the White House to the radio station for her to ask President Biden shows that the people in the White House know that he cannot be left up to his own devices. It shows that they're also worried about anybody asking him a question that he doesn't 100% have memorized, rehearsed, know the answers to. They're worried about anybody asking him something that could paint any sort of bad light on him, right? And we knew that this was going to happen because it's exactly how the CNN debate went. The debate against Donald Trump, the CNN, what are they called? The moderators, they had the questions already prepared. I can guarantee those were sent from the White House also. I don't know for a fact that that's the case, but it would not surprise me that those would be sent. But I mean, if Biden did spend a week preparing, was he preparing to memorize all of the answers? Was he preparing to memorize the questions so he could have some sort of answer to give back? Like, he spent a week at Camp David, even though he's claiming that he was, jet lagged and sick from all his international travel. But Camp David's not international the last time I checked. What do I know? I'm just a chick with a camera and a microphone. But I will say that on a daily basis, we are seeing things transpire that really do take away the level of trust that people have in the sitting president. Whether you are a Democrat or Republican, an independent, none of the above, you have to openly admit that somebody like Joe Biden is not somebody that instills great trust, that instills great faith in the fact that he knows what he's doing, especially when he can't even answer a question if he hasn't been programmed on how to answer it ahead of time. Vivek Ramaswamy would never. But wait, it gets worse, because today is Sunday and there will be a huge bombshell dropped tomorrow on Monday. I'm gonna tell you guys about it just one second. But notice what's really evident to me, and hopefully to you as well, what happened at this Wisconsin rally. Joe Biden was himself. There was no handler, no caretaker, no Dr. Jill Biden to corral him, no voices in his ear to tell him what to do, what to say, how to act. That was Joe Biden left up to his own free will, and his free will said, bypass the black woman, go to the white one. Here's the deal though. We know Joe Biden's not running the show. Now let's talk about this lady who just got fired because of Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is having trouble answering even the simplest of questions.
You each you asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House. But they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House, or did you have, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. And the reason I ask is not a criticism of either of you. It's just that if the White House is trying now to prove the vim, vigor, acuity of the president, I don't know how they do that by sending questions first before the interview so that the president knows what's coming.
But it says that CNN says that Joe Biden's team provided a list of questions to a radio host who interviewed the president this week in the aftermath of his debate performance. Quote, the questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them, says Andrea Lawful Sanders, host of The Source in Philadelphia. And she said this during an interview Saturday with CNN's Victor Blackwell on First of All.
But look, even when I was running for Senate, and each time I ran, quite frankly, not a joke, Philadelphia in particular got me across the line. No, I'm not joking. No, I mean it seriously, organizationally and in terms of fundraising, the whole deal. But look, here's the deal. This election is going to be about block and tackling, simple, basic politics. Simple.
So getting this woman fired is how you show your appreciation to Philadelphia. Doesn't seem like a good look to me, personally. Does he remember that he was a governor of Delaware? What I don't understand is why this woman is unemployed because of Joe Biden. She did nothing wrong. She did what she was told to do by the President of the United States, by the White House, by his handlers, whoever, whatever. She did her job. They are the ones who effed up and did something they weren't supposed to do. So why is she, the black woman, the one to lose her job? That doesn't make sense to me. Now, if she had said, I submitted questions that I wanted to ask, they approved these 4 out of this 8, and then she had asked a question outside of the 4 approved ones, I can see maybe possibly being on the chopping block for going above and beyond what was approved or agreed upon. But no, she did exactly as she was instructed to do by the same people who didn't trust her to ask the questions on her own. And then she gets canned for it. Let me rephrase, because we know that's not how it went. They didn't trust Biden to answer the questions that this woman would ask. And that's the problem. At the end of the day, that is the whole problem. That they knew ahead of time he wasn't cognitively there to answer questions that he had not been prepped for. And that says a lot about our current sitting president. Now, let's just, small little reminder here. This is the same radio interview where he said he was the first black female vice president. Excuse me. He said he was the first black female president. Now, headline from the Washington Post, radio station parts ways with host who interview Biden with questions from his aides. And from the Philadelphia Tribune, Andrea Lawful Sanders leaves WURD radio after approved questions from Joe Biden's campaign. Well, that's an interesting way to phrase that one there, especially when you have the New York Post, who is a left-leaning news publication. Radio station cuts ties with host who revealed she only asked President Biden questions fed to her by campaign. Here's the kicker. Now I'm going to ask you guys really quickly to take a look at your screen and let me know if you notice anything about this news article. For those of you who haven't been able to take a look, let me just tell you what this says. Interview violates our practices, said WURD President and CEO Sarah M. Lomax. The station is not a mouthpiece for Biden or any other administration. Yeah, this particular article, they choose an image of smiling Biden taking a selfie with a white woman who, is that Sarah M. Lomax by any chance? But out of everything, given what the title is, given what the article is about, why is Andrea not front and center here? The woman who has been canned for violating what they say are their practices, even though I can guarantee you they knew ahead of time that she was going to interview the President of the United States, and they let it go. And then they want to can her? Now let's just think back to what Barry Cunningham said at the beginning of the video. This is not what the media wants you to know. This is clearly the side of Dementia Joe that they don't want you to see. That, y'all, they whitewashed it with some selfie of Joe Biden with a white woman. And as I said, shit is hitting the fan on Monday. You guys ready? Shit is going to hit the fan on Monday, according to a new report by Axios, as Jill and Hunter Biden have become gatekeepers to the president. The Democratic Party is getting exactly what they deserve, and it's wonderful. Democratic lawmakers are growing increasingly concerned about their own races as Biden is refusing to drop out. The shit is going to hit the fan on Monday when Congress returns. People are scared about their own races, a House Dem told the outlet. Every single person not named Biden realizes how screwed they are. According to the report, Democrats are praying and plotting to take out Biden by Friday. They want everyone from the Obamas to congressional leaders to beg Biden to drop out by this Friday, Axios reported. Now, there's a big difference between praying and plotting. I wonder which one's going to win out. So we have less than 24 hours until Monday. And then we have, in theory, 5 days until Biden possibly goes poof out of the White House, he too will be fired. It's gonna be an interesting 5 days, I know that much. I want your feedback, guys. Leave me comments below. I wanna know what you think about everything we just covered here right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it out, because people need to know that this is happening, because the regular media is not gonna talk about it. And I will see you guys again on Monday. Bye.